In the heart of the Chernobyl exclusion zone, an area long believed to be lifeless, scientists quietly installed a few cameras. What they captured by chance was nothing short of astonishing. Let's dive in. But we must return to the very night when time seemed to freeze. On the night of April 26, 1986, an accident occurred at Reactor 4 of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. A powerful blast damaged the structure, released heat and radiation into the atmosphere. An invisible cloud soon covered the nearby town of Pripyat. Residents woke in confusion. Some saw a strange glow and assumed it was a fire. By morning, evacuation had begun. Thousands were told to leave their homes for a short time, but many never returned. Homes were left untouched, toys on beds, plates on tables, school books still open. Now, wind moves through broken windows, carrying only silence. Close to the plant, the nearby pine forest changed color overnight. Trees wilted, needles dropped, and birds disappeared. This place became known as the Red Forest, one of the most affected areas on Earth. It didn't burn, but it faded. Chernobyl became more than just a historical event. It became a frozen moment where life paused and nature stood still. If you lived in Pripyat that night, what would you tell your family as you were forced to leave everything behind? Comment and chat with me. The explosion changed everything, but the real story was only just beginning. What did it take to prevent an even greater disaster? After the explosion at Reactor 4, a new threat appeared. Beneath the reactor was a pool of water, part of the plant's safety system. Above it, molten nuclear material was slowly melting through concrete. If it had reached the water, it could have triggered a powerful steam blast, strong enough to destroy the complex and spread radiation across much of Europe. 3 men, Alexei Ananenko, Valery Bespalov, and Boris Baranov, volunteered to stop it. Wearing protective suits and using flashlights, they entered chest-high radioactive water in complete darkness. They located the release valves and drained the water, and their actions likely prevented a far greater catastrophe. For years, many believed they did not survive the mission. But Ananenko and Bespalov lived for decades. Baranov passed away in 2005, reportedly not due to radiation. In the months that followed, more than 600,000 people, known as the Chernobyl liquidators, were deployed. They included firefighters, soldiers, miners, medics, engineers, and civilians. Their task was to stabilize the site, clear hazardous debris, and build a shield around the damaged reactor. They faced extreme conditions, often with limited protection. Many used basic tools like shovels. Some had to rely on their hands. While many experienced health effects, their work was vital. According to the United Nations Scientific Committee, their efforts significantly reduced long-term radiation exposure across Europe. Just when it seemed the human chapter had closed, something unexpected began to stir in the silence. What did hidden cameras deep within the exclusion zone reveal? Something no one could have predicted. In November of last year, while much of the world had forgotten the forests of Chernobyl, scientists had not. A research team entered the most restricted part of the exclusion zone, not to repair, but to observe. They placed 42 motion-activated cameras across zones with different radiation levels. The goal was to monitor wildlife and understand how life had adapted in a place left untouched by humans for nearly 4 decades. Early footage showed only wind and shifting shadows. Then came signs of life: deer in the snow, foxes near old buildings, wild boars in the leaves. Animals once thought lost were not just surviving, they were thriving. Every week brought more footage, capturing predators, rare birds, and even species not seen in over a century. What began as a simple research effort became something more, evidence that nature was quietly making a comeback. Reports from National Geographic and the British Ecological Society support these findings. The camera data is now vital to understanding how ecosystems respond when human presence is removed. No one expected such a revival. But deep in the quiet forests of Chernobyl, the cameras are still rolling. And the story is only just beginning. At first, only shadows appeared on the screens. But soon, something extraordinary crept into frame. Was life truly returning to the dead zone? Before exploring, I have a special 10-second request for all of you listening. If you can help me in any way, just hit the notification bell and hit that subscribe button. It helps this channel so much. And if you do that, I will do everything I can to make this show even better for you. Deal? It began with a shadow, then a snout nudging through leaves, a wild boar digging near a broken fence. Soon, cameras captured more, foxes weaving between buildings, deer under street lamps, and wolves roaming freely. One image showed paw prints, small and large, evidence of cubs born in the ruins of a nuclear disaster. According to data from scientific reports and the Chernobyl Biosphere Reserve, cameras recorded over 10 mammal species and at least 5 bird types, including some not seen in decades. The gray wolf population wasn't just stable, it was thriving. Researchers from the University of Georgia and the Tree Project were surprised. They expected decline or illness, but instead found strong wildlife activity, even in high radiation zones. Chernobyl is becoming a refuge for wildlife, said Dr. James Beasley. With humans gone, nature was returning. Eyes glowed in the dark, antlers caught the morning dew, insects buzzed, and life quietly began again behind the warning signs and wire. But the most surprising appearances were still to come. Creatures long thought lost were about to return to the spotlight. What happens when extinction is reversed in a place once abandoned by life itself? Under the moonlit forest, a camera captured a rare sight. A European lynx, once thought extinct in the region, walking confidently through the Chernobyl woods. Its silent steps and alert ears revealed a predator reclaiming its place. Weeks later, another camera spotted a brown bear, massive and slow, foraging through the abandoned forest, its first confirmed return to the area in over a century, according to researchers. Chernobyl's stillness, once marked by absence, now echoed with life. Black storks, sensitive to human presence, have also been seen nesting there, thriving in the quiet. Ironically, the very event that cleared the land has created a haven for wildlife. These animals didn't just survive Chernobyl, they came back. Seeing these animals was one thing. But then, researchers noticed something even more astonishing. Had the laws of evolution changed inside the zone? The wolves of Chernobyl are unlike others. They roam through areas exposed to radiation, rest near abandoned structures, and hunt in zones marked by caution signs. Since 2014, Princeton researchers have studied these wolves, surprised to find their population much larger than in nearby unaffected areas. Blood tests revealed DNA changes linked to stronger immune responses and potential resistance to certain diseases. Lead researcher Dr. Kara Love described it as evolution in fast forward. The wolves weren't just surviving, they were adapting. Chernobyl has become a unique place to study evolution in action. Birds, rodents, and insects also showed genetic changes, some neutral, some possibly beneficial. While radiation still affects many species and some areas remain hazardous, nature appears to be adapting in unexpected ways. Animals were adapting, yes, but what about the land itself? Could a radioactive forest be reborn? During the Soviet era, pine trees were planted in neat rows around Chernobyl for timber and land management. After the 1986 nuclear incident, radiation affected many trees near the reactor, turning them orange and giving the red forest its name. The surrounding forest remained largely undisturbed. Over time, nature reclaimed the space. Birch, oak, aspen, and maple began to grow among the pines. Ferns, moss, and fungi spread across the forest floor. With no human interference, the land reshaped itself. Today, much of the area is a wild, self-sustaining forest. A 2021 study found it is more biodiverse than before, supporting a wider range of animals and acting as a carbon sink. Even areas with elevated radiation levels now show strong vegetation growth. Satellite images reveal significant forest expansion over the past 30 years. Walking there feels like entering an ancient, untouched world, full of tangled trees, filtered light, and wildlife. What started as a tragedy has become a powerful example of nature's resilience. As trees returned, so did rivers. But beneath their still waters, an invisible process was quietly connecting everything. What role did the rivers play in this web of life? In Chernobyl, even the rivers play a role in nature's renewal. Once feared for carrying radiation, they now support a hidden web of life. Beneath a calm surface, the remains of fish help fuel this ecosystem. When fish reach the end of their life cycle, they become nourishment for animals both in the water and on land. A 2020 study by the Royal Society of Biology found that otters, American mink, and foxes often feed on these fish. As they move, feed, and nest, they carry nutrients into the soil, linking rivers and forests. This process, known as aquatic to terrestrial nutrient transfer, helps entire ecosystems flourish without human involvement. Otters glide through quiet canals, mink explore stream edges, and foxes visit at night. Each animal helps connect land and water. Researchers from the University of South Carolina and the Ukrainian Institute of Hydrobiology confirm that this nutrient flow supports growing plant and wildlife populations in the area. Even insects and birds benefit. A single fish can nourish dozens of organisms, first in the river, then in the forest. In a place once known for isolation, life now thrives through connection. The rivers feed the land. The land shelters the animals. The animals link it all. In Chernobyl, everything is part of a larger, living system. If this story surprised you as much as it surprised the scientists, give this video a like. It helps more people discover these hidden truths. But before we celebrate nature's comeback, there's a silent force that still lurks beneath the surface. What dangers remain beneath the beauty? As wildlife returns and forests grow, radiation remains, a quiet, invisible presence. With advanced tools like drones, LiDAR, and gamma spectrometers, scientists can now map radiation in the exclusion zone more accurately than ever. They discovered active hotspots, especially in the Red Forest, considered one of the most affected areas on Earth. Some zones can deliver a year's typical human exposure in just a few hours. A 2021 study in Nature Communications linked these concentrations to buried nuclear material, fuel rods, and graphite released during the Reactor 4 incident. Over time, weather and natural decay have shifted particles, forming new areas of concern. In some places, soil shows faint signals in thermal scans, not from heat but from radiation signatures. As Dr. Victoria Radchuk notes, the challenge hasn't disappeared, it has evolved and moved. Certain elements like cesium-137 and strontium-90 have half-lives of about 30 years. Others, such as plutonium-239, can persist for up to 24,000 years. This means parts of the zone will require long-term monitoring. Even as nature rebounds, these lasting traces remain. Chernobyl represents a powerful contrast between regrowth and resilience, and the quiet legacy of its past. Though it appears peaceful, the landscape still holds echoes of history. Even with these risks, the world began looking back at Chernobyl once again. But what triggered this sudden surge of interest? For years, Chernobyl faded from public attention, visited mostly by scientists and historians. But in 2019, the HBO series Chernobyl brought it back into focus. Starring Jared Harris as Valery Legasov, the show offered an emotional retelling of the events and their aftermath. The series won 10 Emmy Awards and renewed global interest in Chernobyl. Tourism rose by nearly 40% that year, with people from around the world visiting the exclusion zone. They walked through Pripyat, saw the Ferris wheel in the abandoned amusement park, and viewed the steel structure now covering Reactor 4, seeking to better understand the site's legacy. What many found unexpected was the contrast. Amid the remains, wildlife returned, forests grew, and quietness took over. People came to witness history, but also discovered signs of renewal. Journalists, filmmakers, and content creators followed, turning research into compelling stories. The renewed spotlight helped bring awareness to Chernobyl's ongoing environmental and human impact. In the end, storytelling helped reintroduce Chernobyl to the world, showing a place where history, recovery, and resilience exist side by side. Behind all the headlines and haunting images, something deeper was unfolding. What does Chernobyl truly teach us about life and survival? Radiation hasn't disappeared. It still lingers in the soil, trees, and buildings of Chernobyl. But humans left, almost overnight. Factories closed, cars vanished, and the land was left undisturbed for the first time in generations. At first, scientists believed life could not return. The radiation seemed too strong. But without roads, hunting, or noise, nature slowly began to recover. Birds nested on rooftops. Wolves came back. Plants pushed through the pavement. Rivers cleared. Forests thickened. The food chain rebuilt itself, step by step, without human interference. This shift has led scientists and ecologists to rethink long-held ideas. As reported by Scientific American and the UN Environment Program, Chernobyl has become a real-world example of how nature responds when people step away. Radiation still poses risks. Some species are affected, others may not return. But with less human impact, no industry, no pollution, nature has found space to renew. Chernobyl is now more than a historical site. It stands as a symbol of ecological resilience, quietly reminding us, with time and space, nature can restore itself. If you could place a hidden camera anywhere on Earth, just like the ones used in Chernobyl, where would you put it and what would you hope to see? If you found today's video interesting, don't hesitate to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Your support is very important to us. Be sure to check out the next video appearing on your screen. You're sure to love the content we bring. Please leave a comment about which country you'd like us to explore next. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video. In the icy stillness of Kazakhstan at 5:59 a.m., the earth shuddered, not from warfare but from an explosion no one expected. The Soviet Union had just used a nuclear bomb to make a lake. But what followed wasn't a peaceful reservoir. It was something far more unsettling. Whispers of radiation, deformed wildlife, and an unnatural quiet began to emerge. Locals now call it Dead Lake. So why would a superpower risk detonation in its backyard? What secrets lie beneath those dark waters? And how did this strange project vanish into silence until now? Let's explore. But this wasn't just an explosion, it was a calculated, state-sponsored maneuver. So how exactly did the Soviets carry out such an operation in total secrecy? In January 1965, a military truck moved through the Kazakh steppe, carrying a unique payload, a nuclear device, about 3 feet in diameter and 10 feet tall. The team had prepared for this operation for a long time, waiting for ideal weather conditions. Once approved, the truck reached its destination. There, the device was carefully lowered into a specially drilled shaft, 584 feet deep. It took several hours to complete. As it reached the bottom, a countdown began for the following morning. Time passed slowly, building up to the critical moment. Finally, 5 seconds remained. 4, 3, 2, 1. at 5:59 and 59 seconds a.m. At Greenwich time, the device was detonated. The explosion had a yield of approximately 170 kilotons, about 8 times the power of the Hiroshima blast in 1945. A powerful sound followed. Within seconds, a hot gas cloud began to rise, and 5 minutes later, it reached 15,750 feet. The blast displaced around 10.3 million tons of soil, sending it over 3,117 feet into the air and spreading it as dust. In its wake, a massive crater was left behind, 410 feet wide and 328 feet deep. Despite the scale of the event, it remains relatively unknown. Fewer still know that it ultimately led to the formation of a one-of-a-kind lake. But what was the purpose of it all? Why do you think so few people know about this event today, despite its enormous scale? Is history hiding something? Comment and chat with me. The blast left a crater, but why go to such lengths? What was the real motive behind turning nuclear weapons into construction tools? The Soviet nuclear test, known as Project Chagin, was conducted in January 1965 at the Semipalatinsk test site in Kazakhstan. It was part of the Nuclear Explosions for the National Economy program, which explored peaceful and economically beneficial uses for nuclear technology. The location was selected carefully, far from populated areas, to minimize risk. The closest town, Semipalatinsk, was approximately 80 miles away. As the first experiment of its kind in the USSR, this test required strict safety measures. One of the main conditions was to keep radioactive fallout to a minimum, as the explosion could release decay products along with the displaced soil. By 1965, the dangers of nuclear weapons were already well understood. Within the test site, a dry riverbed of the Chagin River was chosen for its potential to form an artificial lake. The plan was to redirect water into the resulting crater, which ultimately succeeded. Ivan Turin, the project leader, remarked on the visual impact of the site, noting that it was unlike other nuclear tests he had observed. Roughly 50 days after the detonation, once the dust had settled, construction work at the site began. A channel was needed to connect the crater to the river in time for the spring floods. Crews used heavy equipment and conventional explosives to complete the canal. While estimates vary, reports suggest between 180 and 300 workers were involved in the effort, and their dedication ensured the project stayed on schedule. The Soviets claimed it was all for progress. But was this a peaceful development, or something far more sinister hiding behind a curtain of science? Before exploring, I have a special 10-second request for all of you listening. If you can help me in any way, just hit the notification bell and hit that subscribe button. It helps this channel so much. And if you do that, I will do everything I can to make this show even better for you. Deal? A crater turned lake. A nuclear device repurposed for development. And behind it all, not one of domination or destruction, but of innovation. In the early days of the Cold War, within the Soviet Union's scientific and strategic circles, a bold idea emerged. What if nuclear technology could be used for peaceful progress? This concept wasn't fringe. It became official policy. On May 16, 1950, Joseph Stalin signed a decree to explore peaceful applications of atomic energy. This decision followed the USSR's first nuclear test, ending the United States' monopoly on atomic arms. With the arms race underway, the Soviet leadership sought not only military balance but also a path forward where nuclear energy could benefit society. Thus began the Atoms for the National Economy program. At its core was a widely repeated phrase in public messaging, a peaceful atom in every home. This slogan reflected the optimism of the 1950s and 60s, the same period that saw the launch of Obninsk, the world's first nuclear power plant, in 1954. While Obninsk symbolized clean energy, Other projects pursued more experimental paths, using controlled nuclear detonations in remote areas to reshape landscapes. These efforts aimed to address real challenges such as Central Asia's water scarcity. The idea was to create reservoirs quickly, using single high-energy blasts to form basins that could capture seasonal floodwaters. Plans proposed building up to 40 artificial lakes in Kazakhstan, designed to hold as much as 32 to 37 billion gallons of water. In theory, the approach was efficient. But in practice, concerns arose. Nuclear explosions, even for non-military use, release radioactive materials. Soil thrown into the air could carry contaminants over wide areas. Although the resulting water bodies appeared normal, radiation levels often made them unsuitable for practical use. With time, many of these early hopes proved overly optimistic. In the 1960s, however, the enthusiasm was genuine. Nuclear technology was still emerging, its long-term impacts not fully understood, or sometimes overlooked in pursuit of national progress. This technology pushed boundaries, but nature had its limits. What happened when life was reintroduced into this radioactive experiment? After the development of nuclear weapons, the Soviet Union joined other nations in advancing its atomic capabilities. This included not only the expansion of its defense infrastructure, such as nuclear submarines and advanced weaponry, but also initial exploration into peaceful uses of nuclear energy. Soviet scientists, even in the early stages, advocated for broader research beyond military applications. However, under Joseph Stalin's leadership, such initiatives were initially postponed until the successful detonation of the first Soviet nuclear device. That milestone occurred on August 29, 1949, at the Semipalatinsk test site, effectively ending the United States' monopoly on nuclear arms. Following this, the Soviet Union began pursuing peaceful nuclear initiatives. On May 16, 1950, a decree was signed to guide experimental work in the peaceful use of atomic energy, leading eventually to the establishment of the world's first nuclear power plant in Obninsk. Among the lesser-known initiatives was an experimental program involving the use of nuclear explosions for civil engineering purposes. One such project resulted in the formation of Lake Chegan. Soviet-era reports claimed that radiation levels in the area were reduced significantly within weeks. Soil and water samples, according to archival documents, were deemed safe for limited uses. However, independent verification of such claims remains limited. A Soviet documentary claimed the lake was transformed into a picturesque body of water and even described a high-ranking official swimming in it. Later biological experiments attempted to introduce numerous aquatic and terrestrial species into the lake. These included fish, mollusks, amphibians, reptiles, and aquatic plants. While initial survival was noted among some species, longer-term studies revealed abnormal development and population decline. Eventually, the project was halted in 1974 after concerning ecological impacts became evident. Most species failed to establish sustainable populations, and many displayed significant biological changes over successive generations. Today, the legacy of such experiments remains a topic of study and debate in discussions about the peaceful use of nuclear technology. Years passed, but the consequences didn't fade. What did scientists discover when they returned to examine the scars left behind? The area surrounding the so-called atomic lake remains one of the most environmentally impacted zones within the Semipalatinsk test site, even decades after the original explosion. Due to sustained elevated radiation levels, the lake was never designated for public use. Historical accounts from a senior foreman involved in the drilling process suggest that some personnel may have experienced health complications over time, though comprehensive medical data from that period is scarce. Public health concerns in the region persist to this day. Before 1956, there were no official studies on the effects of nuclear testing on the local population, including those living near the test area. Consequently, statistical records of short or long-term health impacts are limited. However, various academic and historical sources have documented potential adverse health outcomes related to exposure from these tests. Of particular note is the discovery of residual traces of plutonium-239 in certain zones, a radioactive isotope with a notably long half-life of approximately 240,000 years. While the initial goal of the project was to create a sustainable water reservoir for agricultural use, the results fell short. During spring snowmelt, the sinkhole partially filled with water, forming a temporary lake between 3 to 6 feet deep. However, the water evaporated by summer, and the site was avoided by locals due to safety concerns. Over time, the lake came to symbolize unintended consequences. The nearby Chagan River eventually altered its path, bypassing the crater entirely. Early visitors described the landscape as bleak and unsettling, with barren terrain and still, dark water, evoking images of a desolate place. Beyond localized issues, the explosion had broader environmental effects. Reports indicate that radioactive particles may have dispersed across regional boundaries, with atmospheric changes and geological shifts resulting from the intense heat and pressure. According to some studies, a radioactive cloud may have affected as many as 11 nearby settlements, home to an estimated 2,000 people. Scientific estimates suggest that thyroid radiation exposure for individuals in the most affected areas may have exceeded typical long-term dose thresholds within a short period following the event. Sources also note that approximately 300 workers may have been present in the immediate aftermath, though official numbers remain uncertain due to the classified nature of the operation. And the Soviets weren't alone. Did their Cold War rivals follow a similar path, risking their land and their people in pursuit of atomic progress? What happened at Lake Chagan was not just a Soviet-era experiment, it was part of a broader scientific initiative pursued by both sides during the Cold War. In laboratories and remote testing sites, engineers from the world's two superpowers explored a provocative idea. Could nuclear detonation serve practical, non-military purposes? Between 1971 and 1988, the Soviet Union conducted 124 so-called peaceful nuclear explosions. These were officially sanctioned and part of a national program intended to explore potential economic and industrial benefits from controlled nuclear detonations. The final Soviet test, part of what was known as the Rubin Project, occurred on September 6, 1988, in the Arkhangelsk region. An 8.5 kiloton charge was set off approximately 28 feet underground to study seismic effects in the Earth's crust. According to the Russian Federal Nuclear Center, these experiments were unparalleled internationally. The program's focus extended beyond the detonation itself. It aimed to transform landscapes for industrial gain. Nuclear blasts were used experimentally to assist in oil and gas extraction, to shape landforms such as riverbeds and trenches, and as seen at Chagan, to create reservoirs. One significant example comes from Bashkiria in the Ural Mountains, where nuclear energy was applied to access an oil field that had proven resistant to conventional methods. Reports from that era suggested the extraction rate increased significantly following the test. When the same site was later depleted, the process was repeated years later with similar effects. These efforts were framed by Soviet planners as controlled uses of nuclear energy in the service of economic goals. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, the United States initiated its version of peaceful nuclear research in 1957, Project Plowshare. Over 16 years, 27 nuclear detonations were carried out in various locations from Nevada to Alaska. These experiments tested the viability of using underground nuclear charges for large-scale excavation and energy development. Some of the attempts yielded limited success, others encountered challenges. In one case, Project Rulison in 1969 involved a 40-kiloton underground detonation in Colorado, intended to release natural gas from rock formations. Although the gas was released, it was subsequently found to be unsuitable for commercial use due to radioactive contamination. A similar outcome occurred during Project Gasbuggy in New Mexico in 1967. While Soviet tests were generally higher in yield, the U.S. Department of Energy documents suggest that American tests sometimes produced more radioactive byproducts due to differences in device design and safety protocols. In total, both nations conducted more than 150 nuclear tests under peaceful use initiatives, not in war zones but in agricultural and industrial zones, and near inhabited regions. The guiding rationale was consistent: use nuclear energy to perform tasks that would otherwise take months by conventional means. However, the consequences of these tests in many cases persisted far beyond the intended benefits. Some sites were declared safe and monitored, while others were quietly decommissioned. Subscribe for more forgotten secrets from the atomic age, where truth is stranger than fiction, and history leaves radioactive footprints. The tests may have ended, but the lake remains. What does it look like today? And what secrets does it still hold beneath its still waters? The nuclear test at Lake Chegan concluded in 1965, but its environmental legacy remains. More than 50 years later, the lake still holds water and continues to stand as a remnant of Cold War-era atomic experimentation. After the spring thaw that followed the test, the crater gradually filled and formed an artificial reservoir, estimated to hold up to 5.2 billion gallons of water. On the surface, it may resemble any other remote lake, quiet and serene, but environmental assessments indicate that its water continues to exhibit residual radiation. Though limited vegetation has returned to some parts of the shoreline, the broader area remains sparsely vegetated. According to Kazakhstan's National Nuclear Center, Chegan is categorized as one of the most significantly affected zones from historical nuclear testing. Environmental reports from the Institute of Radiation Safety and Ecology note that water samples from the lake still show radiation levels approximately 100 times higher than standard safety thresholds for human consumption. Despite public health advisories, some residents continue to use the lake for fishing. The primary species found in the lake are carp, a fish known for its resilience. However, studies have indicated that these fish may contain elevated levels of radioactive isotopes due to their feeding behavior and sediment exposure. Authorities advise against the consumption of fish from the site. The surrounding region, roughly 2 to 3 miles from the lake, is referred to by researchers as a residual contamination zone. This area contains elevated levels of radiation in the soil and air, contributing to ongoing environmental monitoring efforts. Additionally, water from the nearby Chegan River, which passes near the site, is occasionally used for agricultural purposes, raising concerns about potential pathways of exposure through livestock and crops. Long-term exposure to radioactive materials can potentially lead to health effects. However, comprehensive health studies on local populations remain limited, and no full record currently exists regarding the long-term impacts in the region. Locals have given the site several names over the years, including Atom Coal, meaning atomic lake, and Dead Lake, reflecting concerns about its ecological and health legacy. Initially intended as a symbol of technological progress through peaceful nuclear use, the lake today serves as a point of reflection on the lasting implications of such experiments. If you found today's video interesting, don't hesitate to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Your support is very important to us. Be sure to check out the next video appearing on your screen. You're sure to love the content we bring. Please leave a comment about which country you'd like us to explore next. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Could the drying Euphrates be more than a crisis? Could it be a countdown? A 20-foot creature emerges where crocodiles never existed. Nearby, a carved cave sealed for centuries echoes with strange sounds. These aren't random finds, they match ancient prophecies. Are the 4 angels of Revelation awakening? What's rising from the riverbed may change how we see history, science, and the future. Let's dive into it. In a land where crocodiles have never been part of the ecosystem, something extraordinary has just surfaced. From beneath the drying bed of the Euphrates River, a massive 20-foot creature emerged, completely still, utterly misplaced, and unlike anything ever seen in this region. Locals first spotted it near a cavern recently exposed by the receding waters. At first glance, it resembled a log, but then it moved. Crocodiles are native to places like Africa, Southeast Asia, and Australia. They've never been known to inhabit the Middle East. The Euphrates, which winds through Turkey, Syria, and Iraq, has no record of supporting any crocodile species, according to the latest data from the International Union for Conservation of Nature. This one, though? It measures over 6 meters long, towering over even the largest saltwater crocodiles, which usually max out between 4 to 5 meters. But what's even more disturbing is its location. It wasn't found near the surface, but buried deep under layers of sediment, right at the entrance of a cave that hasn't seen daylight for centuries. It was sealed, hidden, and perhaps deliberately so. Some biologists are calling it a genetic anomaly, maybe a leftover from a now extinct line. But without any breeding population in the region or even fossil evidence to support its existence, the scientific world remains baffled. And that leaves us with a deeper question. Could this be something spiritual? In ancient cultures, crocodiles weren't just apex predators. In Egyptian mythology, Sobek, the crocodile-headed god, was seen as a guardian of sacred waters and protector of hidden realms. In Mesopotamian lore, similar beasts were said to guard gateways between worlds, placed there by divine command to keep humans out. And now, all of this is unfolding while the Euphrates continues to shrink at an unprecedented rate. According to the most recent report from the United Nations Environment Program, the Euphrates has already lost more than 60% of its natural flow since the year 2000. The cause? A combination of upstream dams, intensifying droughts linked to climate change, and plummeting groundwater levels. The Iraqi Ministry of Water Resources is now sounding the alarm, warning that by the year 2040, the Euphrates could become a seasonal river, running dry for months at a time. For millions who depend on this ancient waterway, it's a looming humanitarian disaster. But for others, especially those familiar with Bible prophecy, it may mean something far more profound. Because in Revelation chapter 9, verse 14, we read, "Release the 4 angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates." Could it be that what we're witnessing isn't just environmental decline, but a prophetic chain reaction already in motion? Could the drying of this river be part of a divine countdown, not just a climate emergency? As the waters retreat and long-buried mysteries rise to the surface, one thing becomes clear. The signs are no longer subtle. As the Euphrates River continues to dry, it's not just exposing cracked earth or ancient relics. Something far more unsettling is being revealed. And the giant crocodile recently discovered? That was only the beginning. Not far from the creature's location, local workers clearing thick layers of riverbed sediment uncovered what appeared to be the mouth of a cave, one that had been buried for centuries under hardened silt. But this wasn't just a random crevice in the rock. The entrance was shaped with purpose, carved by human hands long ago. As the erosion deepened, it unveiled a tunnel system hidden beneath the riverbed, untouched for thousands of years. According to Iraq's General Authority for Antiquities and Heritage, such cave systems beneath ancient rivers are extremely rare. But what made this discovery even more disturbing were the reports from those who entered. From deep within the cave, strange sounds began to echo. These weren't the usual groans of shifting stone or dripping water. Instead, witnesses described deep, rhythmic tones, whispers, chanting in a language no one could recognize. Researchers from Kurdistan University's Department of Archaeology soon confirmed the presence of a massive cave network stretching over 200 meters underground. Their initial scans picked up what they described as unusual acoustic phenomena. In ancient Egyptian tradition, crocodiles weren't just wild predators. They symbolized power, protection, and access to otherworldly realms. The crocodile-headed god Sobek was said to guard sacred portals, gateways between the physical world and the divine. So the question must be asked, is this cave simply a geological curiosity, or is it something far older and far more significant? Could it be a gate, one long buried by God's design, now opened as the prophetic timeline moves forward? Revelation chapter 9 verses 14 and 15 speaks of a time when the great river Euphrates will dry up, making way for 4 powerful angels who have been bound beneath it, released at a specific hour, day, month, and year. To consider this, a massive, ancient creature, a carved entrance hidden beneath the river, unexplained sounds deep underground. These are not random events. They may form part of a prophetic chain long foretold in Scripture. Could this be the very site where the 4 angels of Revelation are held? Or might this tunnel lead to something even more ancient? Something meant to stay sealed until the appointed time? We may not yet know what lies in the deepest chamber of that cave, but what's now rising to the surface is undeniable. After centuries of silence, the earth is speaking again. Before we continue, I have a special 10-second request for all of you listening. If you can help me in any way, just press the notification bell and hit that subscribe button. It means the world. It really supports this channel. And if you do that for me, I promise my team and I will do everything we can to make this show even better for you. As archaeologists trace the ancient cave system beneath the Euphrates River, an even more astonishing discovery emerged just nearby, etched in stone too precise to be nature's work and too symbolic to overlook. Buried beneath thick layers of sediment right beyond the cave's entrance, satellite scans uncovered a rectangular formation. Its alignment matched ancient Hebrew construction patterns described in Scripture. Straight lines, deliberate proportions, unmistakably crafted with intent. Preliminary surveys revealed something remarkable, a layout nearly identical to the altar built by Joshua after the Israelites entered the Promised Land. And once uncovered, the structure spoke for itself. Uncut stones, stacked in tiers. A flat surface scorched by fire that had long since gone cold. According to Iraq's State Board of Antiquities and Heritage, this stone altar is estimated to be more than 3,000 years old. It reflects building methods from the early Iron Age, techniques consistent with ritual altars once found across the Levant. But the question presses in, why was it here, and why now? For centuries, this altar remained untouched, hidden beneath the Euphrates, shielded by water, concealed by time. But now, at this very moment, it has returned to the surface, not by human effort, but as the river rapidly recedes. Since the year 2000, the Euphrates has declined by nearly 60%, according to the United Nations Middle East Water Security Brief, updated through 2025. Could this be more than a coincidence? Could it be divine timing? In the book of Joshua, chapter 8, verse 30, Scripture records, "Then Joshua built an altar to the Lord, the God of Israel, on Mount Ebal." This act marked more than a historical milestone. It was a belief declaration, a recommitment to God's covenant, a boundary drawn between the people of God and the rebellion of the Canaanite tribes, whose sins were rooted in the influence of the fallen, traced all the way back to Genesis chapter 6, verse 4. This wasn't just about conquest, explains Pastor Eli Matthews, a respected scholar in biblical archaeology. It was about consecration. Joshua's altar marked the moment Israel took belief in authority over the land. Now, with war, deception, and global unrest mirroring the lawlessness of ancient Canaan, The altar's reappearance demands attention. This isn't just a relic. It is a sign. A reminder that the ancient battle between light and darkness never truly ended. It is returning. Could this altar's unveiling be a signal, foreshadowing a renewed conflict between truth and deception just as Joshua faced in his time? As the Euphrates continues to dry, as nations tremble, as prophecy echoes louder than ever, many believe the boundaries are being drawn once again. From the book of Revelation, chapter 9, verses 14 and 15, comes one of Scripture's most sobering declarations. Release the 4 angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates. And the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour, and a day, and a month, and a year, to slay 1/3 of mankind. This prophecy is not symbolic poetry. It speaks of a precise moment in time, divinely appointed, not accidental, when 4 powerful fallen angels are released to carry out a catastrophic incident. Their mission? The destruction of 1/3 of the world's population. As of the year 2025, the global population is estimated at 8.2 billion. If fulfilled literally, this would mean the death of over 2.7 billion people, an event so vast it would dwarf every war and disaster in human history combined. But here's where the urgency sharpens. This isn't just about a prophecy written long ago. It's about a river drying before our eyes. According to the latest reports from the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, the Euphrates is now at its lowest recorded levels. Years of severe drought, upstream damming, and regional climate disruption have reduced it from a thriving river to a slow-moving stream. In places across Syria and Iraq, the riverbed lies exposed, revealing ruins, buried structures, and unexplained openings beneath the earth. The kind of terrain where, according to Revelation, the 4 angels are said to be bound. Yet the part of the prophecy is its precision. An hour, a day, a month, a year. Such language suggests not chaos, but a countdown. Not randomness, but readiness. If these prophetic words are being fulfilled in our lifetime, then we must ask, are the judgments we're witnessing, natural disasters, violent conflict, moral decay, more than mere headlines? Could they be manifestations of belief forces being released into the world? Biblical scholars point out that these angels are not just destructive. They are leaders, commanders of judgment. And their appearance is not meant to bring warning. Their time is meant to bring consequence. As one professor of eschatology explained, if God placed these angels in chains, it was not out of cruelty, it was mercy. But when their appointed time arrives, they will not be restrained any longer. So then, what of the recent discoveries under the Euphrates? A massive creature, a cave system buried for millennia, a scorched stone altar re-emerging after thousands of years. Are these events simply archaeological marvels? Or are they signs that the boundary between the natural and the supernatural is thinning? This moment is not about fear, it is about awareness. It is about waking up to the times we are living in. The judgments of Revelation were not written to terrify. They were written to prepare. As the second letter of Peter, chapter 3, verse 9 reminds us, the Lord is not slow in keeping his promise, as some understand slowness. He is patient with you, not wanting anyone to perish, but for all to come to repentance. The Euphrates is drying, prophecy is stirring, and the world is shifting. Do you believe the 4 angels of Revelation are stirring now? Is the Euphrates no longer just a river, but a stage for divine prophecy? Let us know in the comments. Your insights help others see what they may have missed. In the year 2024, a joint excavation effort led by Kurdish archaeologists alongside international research teams uncovered human remains buried deep within the exposed Euphrates riverbed, right near the re-emerging altar and mysterious cave system. Researchers at the University of Zurich's Institute of Evolutionary Biology ran genetic analysis on the ancient bones. The results were shocking. The DNA was human, but not completely. Between 4 to 6% of the genetic sequences could not be matched to any known ancient or modern human lineage. Initially, contamination was suspected, but a follow-up study by King's College London confirmed the exact same anomaly, this time found in the remains of a second unrelated skeleton from the same site. Two ancient skeletons, the same unidentifiable DNA signature, both unearthed at what many now believe to be biblical ground zero. These discoveries echo a verse many have long debated. Genesis chapter 6, verse 4, "The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them." But it doesn't stop there. During genetic comparison tests, the research teams cross-referenced the ancient DNA against global genome databases, commonly used for ancestral tracing and population mapping. And in a small number of unexpected cases, they found partial matches. Could it be that the bloodline of the Nephilim still walks among us, not just as legend but alive within modern human populations? Is it possible that some of today's most powerful individuals, perhaps even global leaders, carry traces of a fallen lineage? What if the war first described in Genesis is not something we are moving toward, but something we are already in? What if spiritual warfare is not coming in the future, but unfolding all around us now? These words mirrored the warning given by Jesus himself in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 24, verse 37. "As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man." The Euphrates is drying, prophecy is awakening, and what was buried may not be staying buried for much longer. Throughout Scripture, the heavens have been used as prophetic markers, divine signals written in light and shadow. In the Gospel of Matthew chapter 24, verse 29, Jesus warns, "The sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light." The prophet Joel echoes this with greater intensity. "The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes." That's from Joel chapter 2, verse 31. These are not poetic metaphors. They are time-catered warnings. And now, those warnings may be coming to life. Soon, a partial solar eclipse will pass over much of the Middle East, including the lands of Iraq and Syria, where the Euphrates River continues to vanish. This will be the first major eclipse over this region since the year 2011. But it's not just the eclipse that draws attention. It's what's unfolding beneath its shadow. The Euphrates has lost over 65% of its volume compared to the year 2000. What it's revealing is extraordinary. Ancient ruins, long-viewy altars, strange sounds, even unknown creatures, all beneath a sky about to grow dark. Is this mere coincidence, or is prophecy converging above and below? At the same time, global tension is escalating. Armed conflict now spans at least 3 continents. According to the World Food Program, food insecurity is affecting more than 1.2 billion people. Economies are shaking. Trust in leadership is eroding. And deception, belief, political and digital, is spreading like wildfire. Jesus spoke plainly in Luke chapter 21, verses 25 and 26. "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. Nations will be in anguish and perplexity. People will faint from terror, apprehensive of what is coming on the world." These are not random events. These are not just news cycles. They are prophetic patterns, holy timelines declared both in Scripture and in the skies. Psalm 19 reminds us, "The heavens declare the glory of God." But in this hour, could they also be declaring His final warnings? Every prophetic timeline has a climax, and for many believers, this moment feels dangerously close. Across the globe, unrest is accelerating, not only political and economic, but deeply spiritual. According to the United Nations Global Risk Report, the world is facing its highest combined levels of geopolitical tension, environmental crisis, and social instability in more than 50 years. But these tremors aren't just policy failures or climate patterns. To many, they feel like signs of something far greater, something biblical. As this world unravels, the questions now echo louder than ever. Will we witness the return of Christ? Are the four angels of Revelation already stirring beneath the Euphrates? Has the ancient bloodline of the Nephilim resurfaced to influence modern institutions? Each event, the drying river, the uncovered altar, the mysterious cave, the solar eclipse, connects like prophetic links in a chain. And through it all, one truth remains constant in Scripture. Before God brings judgment, He always sends a warning. The flood was preceded by Noah's obedience. Jericho's walls fell only after 7 trumpet blasts. And the book of Revelation speaks not just of destruction, but of mercy and a final call to repentance. In Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 19, God declares, "See, I have set before you today life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life." That invitation still stands. The headlines may shake us, the signs may overwhelm us, but they are also a call not to panic, but to prepare, not to fear, but to faith. If this truly is the beginning of the final confrontation between light and darkness, between truth and deception, then the most important question is not what happens next. 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 9 reminds us, God is not slow in keeping His promise, as some understand slowness. He is patient with you, not wanting anyone to perish, but for all to come to repentance. The warning is sounding. The choice is now. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Your support means a lot to us. Click on the video that appears on your screen right now. I hope you'll love this content. Comment below about the next topic you'd like to see featured on our channel. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. What made nations risk lives and billions to explore the poles? In 1958, the USS Nautilus slipped beneath the North Pole. No GPS, just sonar, proving even missiles could travel unseen. Meanwhile, Antarctica hides 379 buried lakes, some sealed for 30 million years. One revealed an unknown DNA. Is it about science, power, or something deeper? From Cold War subs to ancient secrets, the race for the poles is far from over. Let's dive into it. In 1957, the Cold War entered a new kind of battlefield. The United States and the Soviet Union weren't firing missiles, they were racing to claim the last untouched frontiers on Earth, the Arctic and the Antarctic. These weren't just frozen deserts, they were zones of strategic value, critical for surveillance, scientific research, and mineral exploration. With no cities, no trees, and winds howling across endless snowfields, these icy landscapes became the high ground of the planet. Temperatures in some areas plunged to minus 60 degrees Celsius, and the deeper layers of ice held secrets spanning millennia. During the Cold War, the Arctic became a theater of quiet conflict. Nuclear submarines slipped beneath the ice. In 1958, the United States launched Operation Sunshine, sending the USS Nautilus under the North Pole, the first vessel to do so. It was more than a technical achievement. It sent a message. Nowhere is out of reach. At the same time, the Soviets deployed drifting stations like North Pole 3, floating research outposts that doubled as surveillance platforms. Further south, Antarctica remained untouched by human settlement, but it didn't escape military interest. Operation High Jump, led by Rear Admiral Richard Byrd in 1946, was one of the largest U.S. military expeditions in polar history. Today, the polar race hasn't ended. It's just changed shapes. The Arctic is warming fast. A 2024 NOAA report confirmed that Arctic sea ice has declined by nearly 1.5 million square kilometers compared to the late 20th century average. Melting ice has exposed new shipping routes and energy reserves, intensifying global competition. Meanwhile, Antarctica is more crowded than ever. Over 30 countries now operate research bases. Russia, China, and the United States lead the effort. However, a 2023 United Nations report warns of rising militarization. Satellite images show extended runways, reinforced facilities, and unexplained deep ice drilling projects. Why do nations continue to risk billions of dollars, political tension, and human lives in such hostile environments? Follow the USS Nautilus beneath the Arctic and uncover the mission that changed everything. As Cold War tensions deepened, one vessel slipped silently into the unknown. The USS Nautilus, a trailblazer in every sense, glided beneath the polar ice, its lights piercing through a blackness no human had ever dared enter. Launched in 1954, the Nautilus was the world's first nuclear-powered submarine. Developed by the U.S. Navy in collaboration with scientists at Argonne National Laboratory, its atomic engine granted it an extraordinary advantage. It could remain submerged for weeks without surfacing, unlike its diesel-electric predecessors, which were bound by the need for air. By 1958, the Navy was ready to push the limits. They called it Operation Sunshine, an ambitious mission to send a submarine directly beneath the North Pole. According to declassified naval records, 116 crew members boarded the Nautilus in Pearl Harbor. As it descended into the Arctic Ocean's freezing depths, there was no satellite navigation, no digital maps, only crude instruments, sonar echoes, and a towering sheet of polar ice, up to 15 feet thick, looming above. Every moment mattered. A wrong turn could end in disaster. If they misjudged and surfaced beneath solid ice, the pressure could rupture the hull. And if they lost their way, they could be sealed in darkness forever. Then came a date that would rewrite history. August 3, 1958. The USS Nautilus became the first vessel to travel beneath the geographic North Pole. Operation Sunshine yielded critical scientific data: sea ice measurements, ocean salinity profiles, and magnetic field variations. Information that would later become the foundation for modern polar science. Today, these findings continue to shape climate models. A 2025 report by the National Snow and Ice Data Center confirms that such early data is vital for tracking Arctic melt and forecasting global sea level impacts. And there was another revelation, one far more sobering. If a submarine could glide beneath the North Pole unnoticed, so could a missile. Military doctrines shifted overnight. What began as a Cold War gamble became a defining moment in exploration. Operation Sunshine proved that even the harshest frontiers were within reach, and in doing so, it sparked decades of peaceful research, urgent climate studies, and a renewed hunger to understand the unknown. If the Arctic showed us we could conquer the depths, Antarctica dares us to explore something far stranger, colder, darker, and nearly untouched by civilization. Before we continue, I have a special 10-second request for all of you listening. If you can help me in any way, just press the notification bell and hit that subscribe button. It means the world. It really supports this channel. And if you do that for me, I promise my team and I will do everything we can to make this show even better for you. Covering 14 million square kilometers, Antarctica is a frozen giant, blasted by winds reaching 200 miles per hour and temperatures plunging to -80 degrees Celsius. There are no cities, no residents, just ice and isolation. And yet, according to the Scientific Committee on Antarctic Research, more than 70 research stations from over 30 countries are active here. Governments are pouring in hundreds of millions of dollars, drilling into ice sheets, studying bedrock, and retrieving ancient climate records. Why the obsession? Antarctica is a natural time capsule. Its glaciers preserve data on Earth's atmosphere dating back 800,000 years. But below the ice, researchers are uncovering something even more astonishing: life where none should exist. In 2021, a team from the British Antarctic Survey discovered sponges clinging to a boulder nearly 900 meters under the Filchnerone ice shelf. Total darkness. No nearby food source. Yet, they were alive. Then, in 2024, scientists from Germany and New Zealand explored Lake Mercer, a subglacial lake sealed off for millions of years. What they found stunned the scientific community. Microbial DNA, metabolic activity, and methane-eating bacteria. Some DNA didn't match anything in the known species databases. Theories suggest these ecosystems might be powered by chemical energy from the Earth's crust, or by hydrothermal vents like those found in deep ocean trenches, or even on icy moons such as Europa or Enceladus. But there's more at stake than science. The Antarctic Treaty of 1959 prohibits military activity and commercial mining. However, a report from the International Polar Policy Research Group highlights rising infrastructure expansion, especially by China and Russia. Satellite images show upgraded bases, longer airstrips, and deep ice drilling with unexplained objectives. According to NASA's Cryosphere Research Division, Antarctica contains more than 379 subglacial lakes, some sealed for over 30 million years. Could these icy vaults hide undiscovered life, ancient microbes, or something else entirely? Antarctica is a continent of ice and silence. As nations pour billions of dollars into this icy frontier, many believe the interest goes beyond climate research. Some say it's because of what might already be buried below. In 2022, the Joe Rogan Experience revived a Cold War-era Soviet account once dismissed as fiction. But similar descriptions have since appeared across multiple declassified reports and intelligence leaks. According to those sources, Soviet divers encountered a structure beneath the Southern Ocean ice shelf. A city of stone towers, some over 40 feet tall, etched with symbols unrecognizable to any known culture. The stone, reportedly warm to the touch, was unlike anything native to Antarctica. Leaked fragments from classified documents describe statues with elongated limbs and non-human features, lifelike but not human. While no official record confirms the mission, satellite scans near Lake Vostok reveal magnetic anomalies that remain unexplained, according to NASA's 2024 Cryosphere report. If real, these discoveries could point to a lost civilization, or something that predates humanity entirely. In 2017, the Alfred Wegener Institute uncovered the remains of a 90-million-year-old rainforest buried deep beneath Antarctic ice, proving the continent was once a warm, thriving ecosystem. But stone towers? Unknown scripts? Carvings with no linguistic match? This goes far beyond ancient flora. It suggests a mystery at the edge of science, one that continues to attract quiet attention from governments, researchers, and those asking the biggest questions about Earth's past. Could the Soviets have uncovered a forgotten chapter of human or non-human history beneath Antarctica? A civilization erased by time, or hidden on purpose? Tell us what you think in the comments. Your theory might just help connect the dots we're all still trying to piece together. Beneath Antarctica's vast ice sheet lies a world that defies expectations. A network of hidden lakes, sealed off from the atmosphere for millions of years and pulsing with signs of life. To date, scientists have identified more than 379 subglacial lakes across the continent. These lakes, concealed beneath several kilometers of ice, challenge the notion that Antarctica is frozen and lifeless. They reveal a dynamic environment where life not only exists, but thrives. Among these, Lake Vostok stands out. Spanning over 250 kilometers in length and plunging to depths of 800 meters, it has remained isolated beneath about 4 kilometers of ice for millions of years. Research into its depths is ongoing, and early findings suggest a complex microbial ecosystem capable of surviving extreme pressure, freezing temperatures, and complete darkness. Some microbes are even adapted to feed on arsenic and sulfur using chemical energy instead of sunlight, a process called chemosynthesis. Equally fascinating is Lake Willands, where a 2024 study by the British Antarctic Survey found over 4,000 microbial species and high concentrations of dissolved organic carbon. These organisms endure total darkness, sustained by methane-based ecosystems that mirror the conditions found near volcanic vents deep in Earth's oceans. What makes these discoveries even more compelling is the possibility that similar environments may exist beyond our planet. Moons like Europa and Enceladus, with their icy crusts and subsurface oceans, are now prime candidates in the search for extraterrestrial life. Some of these lakes may have been cut off from the rest of the world for up to 35 million years. Scientists have also discovered interconnected water systems flowing silently beneath Antarctica's ice. This could redefine how we understand glacier movement, climate regulation, and the boundaries of life itself. And then there's the mystery that satellites have revealed. Pyramid-like shapes emerging as ice recedes. While most geologists attribute them to natural erosion, their symmetry has sparked theories of lost civilizations, hinting that Antarctica's past may be far stranger than we think. In 2017, scientists from the Alfred Wegener Institute uncovered something extraordinary beneath Antarctica's seabed: a 90-million-year-old rainforest, preserved near the South Pole. This ancient forest once thrived in a warm, humid climate, strikingly similar to modern-day New Zealand. During that period, summer temperatures reached up to 19 degrees Celsius, and the atmosphere was dense with carbon dioxide. This discovery confirmed what climate models had long suspected. During the mid-Cretaceous period, Antarctica wasn't frozen at all. It was green, lush, and entirely free of ice sheets. High levels of greenhouse gases created a climate capable of transforming even the coldest corners of the Earth into thriving ecosystems. But the implications go far beyond Earth's past. Such dramatic shifts in climate offer insight into how rising carbon dioxide levels could reshape our planet, and possibly others. If a tropical rainforest could grow near the South Pole, could life also exist beneath the icy surfaces of moons like Europa or Enceladus, where liquid oceans may hide beneath the crust? And that's not the only Antarctic surprise. In recent years, marine biologists studying the frigid waters surrounding the continent discovered a stunning deep-sea creature, the Antarctic strawberry feather star. Part of the brittle star family, this animal stands out for its vibrant color and its ability to swim freely instead of anchoring to the seabed. Unlike most sea stars, these feather stars use 20 arms to navigate and feed, drifting through waters as deep as 1,000 meters. They've been found in multiple Antarctic regions, revealing a hidden web of life beneath the ice. These discoveries challenge the old idea of Antarctica as a lifeless wasteland. Beneath its icy shell is a complex ecosystem, from ancient forests buried in time to mobile sea creatures thriving in the deep. Each new species and ancient remnant adds to our understanding of how life endures and evolves, even in Earth's harshest environments. Would you have believed in a swimming feather star if you hadn't seen it? Drop your favorite frozen discovery in the comments and share this with someone who thinks Antarctica is just ice and penguins. Don't forget to subscribe and follow the channel to discover more interesting things. Now, let's head above the surface, where survival is a daily battle, and adaptation is everything. From emperor penguins braving the frozen wind to fish with antifreeze in their blood, life in Antarctica thrives where it shouldn't. Take the chinstrap penguin, for example. Recognizable by the dark stripe running under its chin, this feisty bird lives on remote islands and coastal edges across the southern Pacific and Antarctic regions. While small, it's bold, navigating icy waters, defending nesting sites, and raising young under brutal conditions. Chinstrap penguins form massive colonies during the breeding season. The males build nests. The females arrive, lay eggs, and then both parents alternate guarding the chicks. They take shifts diving for food, mainly krill and small fish, and raising their young until the chicks join creches, or penguin daycares, to grow feathers and prepare for ocean life. But danger is constant. In the water, leopard seals kill as much as 20% of the population each year. On land, skuas and giant petrels target the chicks and eggs. To survive, chinstraps rely on a fascinating trick. They take thousands of micro-naps throughout the day, each just a few seconds long, adding up to over 11 hours of rest while staying alert for predators. Nearby, Adelie penguins face similar challenges. Their numbers rise and fall with changes in sea ice. In some areas, dubbed penguin heaven, they benefit from less ice and more krill, a rare win in a warming world. Now meet the Antarctic icefish, a creature with transparent blood, adapted to freezing temperatures by shedding red blood cells. It's a trait that helps in extreme cold, but may become a liability as oceans warm. Antarctica is also home to polar gigantism, a phenomenon where cold-loving creatures like sea spiders and amphipods grow unusually large due to high oxygen and low metabolic rates. Under the waves, crab-eater seals dominate the icy waters, not by eating crabs, but krill. With specialized, sieve-like teeth, they filter feed with incredible efficiency. And with fewer whales around after historic overhunting, their food supply has surged. As of 2025, their population is estimated at over 30 million, making them the most abundant seal species on Earth. Crab-eater seals are sleek, fast, and excellent divers. They thrive on drifting sea ice and play a crucial role in regulating the Antarctic food web. In contrast, the Ross seal remains a mystery. Solitary, elusive, and known for its haunting musical vocalizations, it dives deep for squid and fish and gives birth on the ice, far from the chaos of colonies. Scientists estimate there are about 130,000 Ross seals, though their habits are so elusive that exact numbers are hard to confirm. Then there's the southern elephant seal, Antarctica's heavyweight. Males can weigh over 8,000 pounds, using their massive noses to bellow and battle for harems during breeding season. Once nearly wiped out by hunting, they've made a powerful comeback, a sign that, given time, nature can rebound. And patrolling all of this, the top predator of these icy waters is the leopard seal. Powerful and fast, they help control penguin and fur seal populations, keeping the ecosystem in balance. From tiny, wingless midges to the massive whales slowly recovering from extinction, Antarctica's wildlife reveals one truth. Even in the harshest place on Earth, life finds a way not just to survive, but to thrive. While penguins brace against the wind, while seals dive into shadow, and icefish flow with blood that's crystal clear, one bird takes a different path. It flies toward the light. Meet the Arctic tern, a bird small enough to fit in your hand, but capable of the longest migration in the animal kingdom. Every single year, it travels from the Arctic to Antarctica and back again. That's a round trip of more than 56,000 miles, according to the 2025 BirdLife International Migration Index. In a single year, this tiny bird covers more than twice the circumference of the Earth. And it doesn't just fly far. It flies with a purpose, chasing sunlight. By crossing hemispheres at just the right time, Arctic terns live in near-perpetual daylight, logging up to 20 hours of sunlight a day for months. No other species on Earth experiences this much light. The journey is not instinct alone, it's precision. Arctic terns use Earth's magnetic fields, the stars, and shifting ocean currents to navigate with incredible accuracy. And they do it again and again. Some terns live up to 30 years, meaning one bird may fly more than 1.5 million miles in its lifetime. That's like going to the moon and back 3 times. But even legends of the sky face new threats. According to the 2024 World Migratory Bird Report, Arctic tern populations have declined by 14% over the past decade, largely due to melting ice, shifting fish populations, and disappearing feeding grounds. Still, they return. For the Arctic tern, migration is more than movement. It's a memory etched into the sky, a living link between Earth's furthest corners, a reminder that life on this planet isn't just about survival, it's about connection, endurance, and light. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Your support means a lot to us. Click on the video that appears on your screen right now. I hope you'll love this content. Comment below about the next topic you'd like to see featured on our channel. Thanks for being with us. Leave a comment, like to show your support, and remember to hit that subscribe button for more exciting videos. See you next time. In the heart of the Chernobyl exclusion zone,